Hello, everybody. Well, welcome to Thursday. I'll be reading the messages on Facebook. And if you could chat with me, if you'd like to, on Zoom, I'll answer your questions. Today, we're going to be looking at, I'm going to flip this over so you can look at this with me. Here we go. We're going to make Agus. Agus will be with us tomorrow. Agus is from Indonesia. Agus is a phenomenal artist. Many people do large paintings. Agus does unbelievably large paintings. And he's, yes, he's very flamboyant in his paintings. His wife will be translator tomorrow. So it may take a little bit extra time to get questions to Agus. His information is posted online, so you can read about him, see what colors he uses, where he learned, who he followed, etc. is online. These are the colors we're going to be looking at today. Plus, I've added probably another 10 that I thought were interesting. So we'll play with as many as we possibly can. It's going to be duochrome. So Agus does use a duochrome. It's desert bronze. We're going to use French ultramarine. It's this color. Quinacridone gold, cobalt teal blue, hematite genuine, opera pink, cascade green, new gamboge, imperial purple, green apatite, phthalo yellow green. Haven't seen that used too many times. That's going to be interesting. Ultramarine turquoise, neutral tint, quinacridone red, pyrrole orange, enviro-friendly red iron oxide. I also pulled the brown and the yellow today, so we can look at all three. Indanthrone blue and burnt tiger's eye. So those are Agus's colors. There we go. Like that. And so we will be looking at those now. So put those back down. And let's go ahead and start. I think I love questions. And as I put the colors, I'll tell you what colors I'm putting inside first. Anna, if you want to show people your artwork, that'd be fantastic.
Thanks, John. For those of you that are new here, I'm Anna Marie. I was born and grew up in Jerusalem, Israel, and I was commissioned to do a painting of my home city recently, just last fall. And I was faced with the challenge specifically of keeping it in the genre of Jerusalem. There's a whole genre of art going for the skyline of Jerusalem and the city of the whole city. And the commission specifically was requesting for all three faiths to be represented. So the challenge of representing all faiths with dignity and equality was also a challenge. So within the image, I have 20 identifiable locations within Jerusalem. All of them are historically relevant and important. And I also, part of the challenge of making this part of the genre of the Jerusalem imagery is also making it personal, saying, what do I personally have to say about Jerusalem that nobody else does? So each of the 20 historically important locations also are personally very places that I love. So I've included also, Jerusalem is not a historic city, but it's a city that continues to be living. And there's still three, and many more than three, but at least three dominant monotheistic faiths that are based here. And it's also a city that continues to have a lot of conflict. So when I left for college, even the wall that divided the city between the Arab side and the Israeli side, I've lived on both sides, was built within 40 feet of my backyard, and just validating how hard that was to have that separation and division. And then, so there's 20 identifiable locations, and then to try to figure out how to unify it as an image. So to bring in the dove of peace and then Armenian pottery design all the way around. And it's a limited palette with Daniel Smith Colors, limited palette of 5 pigments. Thanks for letting me share.
Oh, very cool. Thank you for sharing.
That is beautiful, Anne-Marie. It is
Thanks
gorgeous.
for letting me share. And I feel like this falls more under the category of illustration. And I love seeing Angela's work and how loose that is with the dripping and the granulation. And that's my passion. But this was a commission, and I put it more in the illustration category, representational.
So thank you for sharing that. When I clean the palette, Angela, I'll actually ask you to show yours when I'm done cleaning the palette. How's that?
Uh-huh. Are you talking to
You, to Angela.
To me.
Yep. So I'm going to show the colors, and then when I'm ready to clean the palette, if you can then show yours, that'd be fantastic. And then we'll do the same thing with Gabriel and anybody else that would like to show their work.
Mhm.
Okay, so the first one we're going to look at is phthalo yellow green. It's probably going to take at least 2 colors before that will focus, because there's so much white on this paper. This view into speaker view. And this one is duochrome desert bronze. Kind of thinking about this, I probably should have done this one last because it's going to put mica into my water, but not the end of the world. I'm going to show you how much, see if it'll catch. You can kind of see there's just a lot of mica. Here, we'll see it here, right here. As that dries, I'll move the paper and you'll be able to see that it's going to have, remember the duochromes, part of the luminescent family. And the thing that makes the duochromes interesting is they have both refractive, which is like the interference, which means you don't see it much over white. And it also has iridescent, which you can see over white. So the iridescent is reflective, the interference is refractive, and the duochrome has both those qualities. Okay, so we have a bunch of mica to the water. So this was phthalo yellow green. This is the duochrome desert bronze. And I'll show you that as it dries. And this is going to be the quinacridone red. Again, these are Agus's colors. They're from his dot card. So when I say it's a particular artist's color, it's just on their dot card. They may use, 4 times this amount of colors. But these are just the ones that are on their dot cards, and then you can ask them other questions as you see them paint. So the quinacridone red, again, is kind of interesting because the quinacridone red PV19 is the same as rose, and it's also the same as the purple. Okay, so the next one is, I kind of like this one. I don't like the other ones. This is imperial purple. So I would always tell myself, well, I kind of guess, maybe what the artwork looks like from the colors that the artist has chosen from their dot card. But having met them many, many times and seeing their artwork many, many times, I already know what their artwork looks like. And I'm always amazed how they use these colors. And this is environmental friendly yellow iron oxide. So it's an iron oxide. The reason we call it environmental friendly, we buy this from a company that goes into what we here in America call called Superfund sites. And those are rivers or causeways that have been polluted. And what they do is they go in and they reclaim the area to bring it back to the way it originally looked at and all of its beauty. And they will get the oxides, they'll clean them up, they'll purify them. It costs extra to be able to buy them. I don't really need to buy environmental friendly, I can just buy iron oxide. But the difference in between the price of the iron oxide and the friendly, they use to then do the next site. So it's kind of a way to pay it forward over and over to clean up, sites and just make places that used to be beautiful and then weren't beautiful again. Not everybody, decades ago, many decades ago, shared a lot of the same procedures that we follow. We, meaning you as included. We're very careful about what we do with our waters. You're very careful what you do with your waters. And that means that our environment stays clean. That wasn't maybe known in those times. So it's nice these companies go in and they bring stuff back to beauty again. So environmental friendly yellow iron oxide. So Peg says, love this painting, Anna. I've been to Jerusalem many times. It's nice. I have too. It's full of history. I'll let you guess what this one is. And I would say, probably all get it right. What do you think? What color do you think that one is? Hello, Caroline. So this is opera pink. So Caroline says, I opened my big exhibition last night and the artworks painted with Daniel Smith Primotex were commented upon about how the gallery lighting brought out the beautiful crystals glowing from the gemstones. I think we're trying to figure out how to make the sessions back interactive. I really liked it when it was super interactive, and I want to go back to that because I love hearing your comments. I love the real time of that. It loses something not having that. The opera pink I'm asked about quite a bit. As you know, the alizarin crimson and the opera pink are two of the, on our scale, the 4 colors that we have, which means they're anywhere from 20 to 30 years easily in terms of light fastness. The alizarin is a historic color. It's a coal tar derivative. It was used by the masters. If you don't want that, you can use actually the permanent alizarin crimson. The opera pink I made specifically for the Botanical Society because they wanted something for the brightness of flowers, etc. The opera pink is made up of both a fluorescent pigment and a quinacridone magenta. So people ask me, well, over time, will it turn as white as this paper? Never, because the quinacridone magenta, which is a component of it, because these are 2 pigments that are put together, not co-precipitated, but blended together. The quinacridone magenta will last over, it's a 1, so it's going to be 100+ years. So when the fluorescent goes away, if it ever goes away, you would see the quinacridone magenta underneath it. So that's always a really good question. So here we have the phthalo yellow green. We have the duochrome desert bronze. Let me see if I can show that to you. Try to get it to, so you kind of see it. This lighting is not the best in the world. But here I can see the duochrome part. I can see that slight, I see the bronze, but I also see a slight undertone sparkling green. So I see both, that duochrome combination. A little bit hard for you to see it on this screen. It's kind of right in there. This is going to be the quinacridone red. This is the imperial purple. This is the environmental friendly yellow iron oxide, and this is the opera pink.
John?
Yes.
Ian raised his hand. He's got questions.
Yes.
Go ahead, Ian.
Go ahead, Ian.
Hi, John. Can you hear me? Yeah.
Good evening.
Good evening to you as well. While we're on the subject of fluorescent colours, do you ever think there will be a time where we can get an 100% light fast fluorescent colour?
You know, by definition, what I've been told by the chemists that manufacture fluorescents is you can never get a permanent fluorescent.
Right. It's a shame that, because they have the use as fluorescent colours.
I mean, it's the very nature of it. When you think about it, fluorescent is giving back so much intensity, etc. It's kind of like it's kind of the nature of the beast. They're going to give it up after a while. They're not made, for example, the car industry. They're not made for industry where they need to last a long time. They're kind of a temporary usage, warning signs, etc. But my understanding is that, yeah, there isn't a permanent fluorescent.
There are some elements that permanently fluoresce, don't they? But is it because of it being broken down that it no longer has that permanency?
Yeah, the only way to have them is to add, like the quinacridone magenta underneath this will be way over 100 plus years. So when the fluorescent goes away, that will still be there, but the fluorescent absolutely at some point in time will go away. Now, unless you do, unless it's behind glass, for example, it's in a darkened area. You can find some of the masters in Paris that are hanging, where the curators are just beyond belief phenomenal about how they show the paintings. And those have, you know, they're like 100, Lautrec, etc. I mean, they're just super, they're old, but the curators are just phenomenal about what they do and how they do it. The glass they use, they keep the rooms dark, they don't allow flash. All those things just add on to the amount of years something will last. But it's kind of like, you know, if you left your Levi's in the front window of your car during a summer, a whole summer, the sun gets everything. I mean, it's beautiful but brutal.
Shame we can't find a type of light that re-energizes it.
You know, if there was money in it, the amount of expertise in the world now, if it was commercially viable, I think there's just such bright people out there. They would figure out how to make it if there was a market for it. It just becomes, you know, what would that market be?
People who like pink cars.
Okay, so I'm going to do thank you, Ian. I'm going to do the second set. This is going to be the Paranone Orange. Paranone Orange isn't in, I don't believe that's in Agus. I believe I picked it out because I wanted to show it to you. It's one that's not asked about a lot. That is correct. So I picked that one out. I also picked out, because I wanted to show you something Gabriel asked about last week, which is the permanent green. This is permanent orange. Just means it's one of the first colors that we came out with. So permanent orange. And I will show you one of Goose's, which is the Pyro Orange. So we'll look at each one of those oranges. Agus uses the Cascade Green. The French Ultramarine. And the Quinacridone Gold. If there's any questions over here. Oh, so Bianca was told about the sessions from Gabriel. Thank you, Gabriel. Thank you, Bianca. Hello, Valentina. Okay. So this is going to be Paranone Orange. Paranone Orange. The next one is Permanent Orange. Kind of looks like an orange. And the next one is a Pyrrole Orange. So this is the Paranone Orange, this is the Permanent Orange, and this is the Pyrrole Orange. Of the three, the Pyrrole Orange is certainly the most is more vibrant than the other two.
That's my favorite orange, is the Pyrrole orange.
The Pyrrole Orange,
Yes.
yeah, it's quite nice.
And there's a stick of the Pyrrole orange.
Would you want to see any of those mixed? Any of these mixed? I just keep going to another one. Is that what you have there, Gabriel? Do you have the Pyrrole Orange?
That's correct. What I would like to see mixed is that green from the first one and the opera pink. I have the opera pink, but I do not have that green.
I will do that. So offer pink, and the green was the phthalo yellow green. Correct? These two right here.
Giovanni's showing right now that he's painting from the stick with the brush.
John?
Yes.
Question from Ian again.
Yes, Ian. This is Cascade Green. Yes, Ian.
Go ahead, Ian.
It's just as regards your, what do you consider to be your primary red? The one that's in the center, not to
Well,
the blue,
this right
or
here?
to the yellow.
This is the quinacridone red right here.
Not from this particular group of colours. I'm on about from your range of colours in total.
Well, let me ask. I'll ask Giovanni and I'll ask Gabriel, and then on the Facebook side, I have Caroline and also Stella. So for the four of you, could you answer the question for me for Ian? What would you consider a good primary Daniel Smith red from your perspective? I know some people use the Quinn red, but it's
For me would be pyro red.
Pearl red.
And I agree with Angela. I use paddle red.
Pyro red, absolutely pyro red.
Right.
And then Scott Erickson, Scott says he uses anthraquinoid red as a primary red.
Right.
And Johnny says alizarin crimson.
Because I'm just trying to build up me me little arsenal of paints, and I really want a good balance. And obviously, I'm going to start with my primaries.
So what I can
And
do
that's-
for next week, Ian, is I'll go ahead and I'll have available and I'll also paint out all the reds. I'll have all the reds next time. I'll paint them out on a sheet before we start. But then I'll show it to you. Then any of you want to see, we'll go ahead and do anything you want to do with them. So I'll bring all the reds out. So we stopped at Cascade Green. This one you've all seen many, many times before. And then Gabriel, I'll go and mix those two colors. This is French ultramarine. And I'll do one more so it'll actually, it has to fight with this white paper.
I did this mixture with Pyrrole Orange, Cascade Green, and the stick of quinacridone gold. I don't know if you can see it very well, but the quinacridone gold is the stick. And there is little parts where they mix. And Cascade Green is absolutely gorgeous. So is Pyrrole Orange.
So you use Pyrrole Orange, Cascade Green, and you use the Queen Gold.
Queen Gold, yes, but the stick, because I didn't have the tube.
Let's try that.
John Nicholas Lopez just entered a Zoom room.
Oh, hello, Nicholas.
And we have a question from Barbara. Go ahead, Barbara. Kindly unmute.
Yep.
You're still on mute, Barbara. Okay, there you go.
I didn't have a question. I had my hand up fiddling with my hair. And I picked it up as a hand, so apologies.
Oh, let's go back to.
Oh, go ahead, Anna Marie.
I had a question on our earlier conversation. You had mentioned talking about Pyrrole Orange being a favorite for this for Gabriel also, as we were looking at the Pyrrole Orange. I was curious if Gabriel has a comparison and contrast of Pyrrole Orange versus transparent Pyrrole Orange, because we've had this discussion in the past, and I'd like to know what you guys have found. Thank you.
Does anybody want to answer that? Who's used both Pyrrole Orange and transparent Pyrrole Orange?
You guys ever played that game Uno, where you have the skip card? And I'm gonna take the skip card and I'm gonna have Giovanni explain the two.
That's great. Hey, Giovanni, you're on.
Okay, sorry. Repeat
So
my-
Anna has asked, what is, for those who have used it, what is the difference, or how do you use the transparent pyrrole orange versus the pyrrole orange? Is that correct, Anna? Okay, yep. So can you answer that, Giovanni? So Stella says pyrrole orange is heavier and covers well. So
Yeah.
that's Stella's.
For me, Anna, the difference is more warm, little more warm in a pyrrole, and transparent is low warmer. It's a little difference.
You don't find much difference?
Little.
Okay, a little difference. So Stella, thank you, Giovanni. Stella also says she uses them both for poppies and flowers. So she uses them both for poppies and flowers.
And we have questions from Ian and Anna. Ian, go ahead first.
It's not a question, it's more an answer, generally speaking, about orange. I find that most oranges that I come across are reasonably opaque. So with the transparent orange, I would imagine that it has a lot more transparency.
This is pyrrole. This is pyrrole. It's more opaque, but the transparent pyrrole or is a little warm.
So one functional way I would use a transparent pyrrole. I would use it if I was actually like glazing is the word I'm searching for. And pyrrole is an area that I kind of the regular pyrrole, non-transparent, is I kind of, if I have a star of the show and I really want you to look there, my eye is gonna search for either in my paintings, a really opaque area, a really strong part of the painting where maybe it isn't a hard edge, as opposed to my broken shapes and broken edges kind of don't capture your eyes. And so I would definitely not use pyrrole orange for glazing. That's one, I guess, technical way I'd use the two.
Thank you. I would say so, and it says, I feel that often when we're discussing the nuanced characteristics of the watercolor pigments that we lack the necessary vocabulary. I would say that's probably accurate. That's accurate. I mean, it's different than a chemist would talk about them. Because when you're experiencing them, when you're artist, you're feeling the colors as well. Yeah, I would agree with that. So, Gabriel, this is the mix of the green, the phthalo yellow green, along with the pyrrole orange.
Yeah, that's what I was hoping for. Something kind of like a watermelon-ish, something
good.
really
That's good.
refreshing.
How's that for pigment description? Watermelonish. I kind of like that. It kind of looks like a watermelon.
I'm all sorts of ready for watermelon now.
Come on, summer.
Oh, love some watermelon now.
So I'm going to lay out the next 6 colors. So Angela, would you like to show your painting that you did? Please.
My mix, you mean my mix?
Yes. No, actually the big, the blue painting that you did.
Ah, the blue one.
Yeah,
Big blue.
go blue. Could you explain to people the colors that you're using there?
There was an underpainting of brown. I think it was burnt sienna, or I don't know. I think it was burnt sienna. It was an older painting, and then on top I painted with ultramarine blue and lunar black to get these drips. So ultramarine blue and lunar black, basically.
Cool.
All right, we're gonna start the bidding on this painting at $2,000.
Sorry?
It's a beautiful painting.
Thank you.
What kind of brush did you use for that?
I actually used a flat brush. Like this.
Like a hockey?
Similar to this. It's thinner though, but similar.
I think Anna Marie has a question. Go ahead, Anna.
I'm curious, how much time does it take to paint a painting like that one, Angela?
Are you asking me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually very fast. I like to paint very fast. I cannot spend hours and hours because it changes my mood, you know. Very fast means 1 hour maybe. And I let it drip and drip, and now sometimes you have to wait until it dries. And then I go over it again. So maybe this one in total, maybe 1.5 hours, and I might go back again for another half hour or so.
I can perceive the immediacy of it.
Yeah, for me, it's the expression of an emotion. And so I cannot keep that for days, for example. It's difficult for me. I'd rather start a new one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And another question from Ian. Go ahead, Ian.
Hey, tomorrow's guest is a very expressive artist. I've had a look at him.
Yes, he is.
Wow. And the size of paper he uses is mind-blowing.
Yeah.
But tomorrow, could you get him to show us some of his large brushes that he uses? Because I noticed in the background he's got some very large brushes.
I will ask him that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because that's the key to being the bigger the brush, the more expressive you can be.
You know, Besnick, who's usually on, he may be on right now, but he's usually on, and he presented last year. Besnick uses enormous brushes. I mean, just enormous brushes.
I can show that, John.
Oh, fantastic.
I will pick them up and show them here. Just a second.
Hello, Besnick.
Hello there.
So
But
Anna
I'm
has big
sure
brushes.
no one wins. No one beats Nicolas Lopez's size brush. His is about 50 centimeters. He has 2 handles to take with 2 hands.
These are the crazy brushes.
Is that a big brush or what?
Yeah, you see how big is it?
Yes.
It's like 35 centimeters, 350 millimeters. It's too big, huh?
Fantastic.
And this one as well.
Uh-huh.
This one, this, and this one. This is Wolf hair. I bought it in Shanghai. It's a very special one. I really love this one. But these are also very nice. I love them. It's a company called Heron from South Korea. It's very nice.
Excellent.
Sneak, change with mine.
Yeah, we can change. Okay, deal. So you see here how many there are. Look,
One A.
Giovanni.
There's like 36 brushes.
Yeah, there are so many. But yeah, we cannot do
But
anything.
what do you use
without
those
you.
brushes for, Besnik?
I like to paint also in big format, larger format paper, or when I have the watercolor ground, I coat the other substrates and paint in larger formats.
So are you using
let's
like
say
buckets
canvas.
of watercolor of
Watercolor ground.
watercolor ground? Oh.
Yeah, the one that Daniel Smith produces. It's an amazing one.
So probably
You
about,
gotta have you must put it in something else because the watercolor ground is the can is not that big.
so Besnik did a presentation about over a year ago, and you'd be amazed at how he just makes those brushes do gorgeous circles. It's still, I believe, on YouTube. I'm sure it's on YouTube.
Yeah.
And it's
It
like,
is.
it's in his studio, and it's fantastic what he does and how quickly he does it.
Thank you so much.
Anna and Ian may have questions to Besnik and to John. We'll have
Yeah,
Anna
sure.
first. Anna, go ahead.
I work in calligraphy in a lot of languages, and one of the artists I enjoy is Kazuaki Tanahashi, a Japanese calligrapher and painter. And you can see how large his brush is in comparison to his body. And he created a brush that takes 8 people to move it. And
Oh my God, I saw.
it's mind-blowing to have brushes that big.
Anna, if you ever go to Shanghai, to China, I will show you an address and you can find that kind of brush. It's
Thank
like
you.
a huge brush. I just couldn't find the way how to bring it to my country. It was very big because it has a very long tail.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I would definitely have it here in my studio. It's really nice for
And
big paintings.
I agree with you, Besnik. One of my favorite brushes is from Hong Kong also.
Yeah.
Ian?
I'm pretty sure, Besnik, you would just take your boat and go and bring it back on your ship.
Next time I will try.
Use it as a carry-on.
And speaking about brushes, I really love Neve brushes, those that Alvaro Castañer uses, the red one. They are amazing. I also have those in my collection of brushes. If you want me, I will show them. They are produced in Australia. Very nice, Neve. You want me to show those as well? I will show.
I think at some point we'll have Luke come on and show his brushes.
Yeah.
That'd be kind of cool.
Anyway, yeah. We'll see at Agus.
Go ahead, Ian.
Just a second, just getting something. Come on. No, not that one.
Earlier, Ian was holding his brushes.
Well, I'm a bit of an experimenter. So this is a lolly stick. And what I'm going to do, very similar to what you've just shown us, with all those brushes all connected together. I've got some, I don't know what ladies call these.
Weaves.
Stick on things.
Yeah.
That's what that is. literally, it's one of them things that you stick on an extension. It's not real hair, this, but I'm
Ian, why don't you use this one as a one single brush, a big one, make it, and you can make very expressive.
Well, that's what I'm planning on doing. I'm going to do several all stuck together like that.
Oh,
You know, all these sticks stuck together. I've got about 20 or 30 of these. They're all going to be stuck together, but each one's going to have its own individual brush.
yeah.
Very similar to what you've got there, but not quite as big as that. That is a fair. But the other brushes that I was thinking that you could get hold of easily, if you go to a decorator's shop and ask for a Coshin brush, they are about, I don't know, they're quite large. If you're wanting to do large format, they're called Coshin brushes.
I could try that maybe if I find.
For emulsioning large walls.
Yeah, and I get it. I know what you mean. I understand.
Because obviously getting hold of one of those brushes is not what you've shown us. It's not one that you're going to find in your local art shop, is it, really?
Yeah, I imported this one from South Korea. It's really difficult to find.
Remind us again where you said that was from.
South Korea. It's Heron brush. The brand name is Heron.
Right.
H-E-R-E-N-D.
Like the bird, Heron.
Yeah, exactly.
Indeed.
Right,
I'll
thank
show you
you.
the name again. Look, this is the name.
That is huge. I mean, that's one about the kind of size I've got, where it's in a hake format. And just to give you an idea, like that's a standard hake, and that one there's.
Oh, that one is big as well. Huh?
A mothership. That's a mothership. That's just a little piddly thing, but that's big. Most people think that that's a big brush.
Yeah, it's big enough, I know.
I would say it's 2 inches wide.
Okay.
For those of you in America, roughly. I don't know how many inches that would be. 1, 2, about 8 inch. This big, this one.
Oh, around 25 centimeters.
Yeah, something like that. And for doing big format, if you're doing anything like that, great.
Yeah, it's a must-have tool for bigger format.
Just not subject to rakes. I like this one as well. It's got a curve on it. It's almost like a giant filbert.
Thank you, Ian. Thank you, Basnik. So
Thanks,
the ones
John.
I have, you're very welcome. The ones I have laid out, this is the quinacridone violet. So that's the PV19. So what we've seen today, we've seen the red, which is PV19, the quinacridone rose, which is also, we'll see here in a second, which is PV19. This is the Tiger's Eye Genuine. So you can see the granulation, Tiger's Eye Genuine. The hematite really granulates. It's a very good granulator. We're going to also see one of the best granulators in the second, which is the green apatite. This is the environmental friendly brown iron oxide. This is the environmental friendly red iron oxide. And this right here is the phthalo turquoise. Not all of these are Agus's colors. I just wanted to also throw in other things so you could see them. So,
John, can we see those last two mixed together? Please.
absolutely. Get that out of there. So I cleaned the palette out. I'm going to come back to those, Gabriel, if that's okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Boy, I'm just a spiller. Not only do I spill on one, I spill across all of them. Next one is neutral tint. I think this one's a very popular color with many of you. I've seen many of the brand ambassadors use it. This is cobalt teal blue.
My favorite.
Is it?
Yeah. And I've been mixing it with one of the permatex. Not bloodstone, but permarite.
Purprite. Purprite?
Yep.
That's a pretty color. What do you like
Mine-
about the mix?
Sorry.
What do you like about that mix?
It's just tasty. It just makes this gorgeous mid-tone color. I'll do it.
Cool. And Giovanni is doing all the colors that I've done so far. He just does them better. Those are really nice. Very nice. And then I'll mix those ones you talked about. Let me bring that back. So I can make sure I get them. Carolyn says, I always tell people my second favorite thing in the world is making art. My first favorite thing is buying art supplies. God, I think that holds true for all of us. I always have 10 or 20 or 30 projects I can see myself doing, and I have all the tools to do those projects, then it just run low on the time to be able to accomplish them. But I certainly like buying the materials. And this one this is quinacridone rose. Again, the PV19. This one's probably one of the, I think it's probably one of the most heavy granulating colors. And it just granulates so quickly. Any guess what that one is?
Green appetite,
Green apatite, absolutely.
is it?
Yes, it is. And so here, Ian, this is another red. So we've used several reds today. We've used quinacridone rose, which is a red. This right here, we've used quinacridone red, quinacridone rose, and this one right here is permanent red. So this is permanent red. This is the rose, and this is the permanent. So Gabriel, you asked about two colors. Do you remember which ones you wanted to see?
Yes, it was the blue and that's next to the yellow. And yep, and then the one to the left of that. No,
That's right here.
the other. Yep, those two.
Okay.
John Raphael is also in the room.
Oh, Raffaele? Yes. So Praful is a ship captain. He's somewhere on the ocean for months and months at a time. So and he's very prolific and he's doing his artwork. What's the difference between the permanent rose and the quin rose? Permanent rose and the quin rose. The permanent red and the quin rose. That's what. So Bianca, you mean between the. So let me do those and I'll show Gabriel his. So this is the permanent red right here that we just did. And this is the quin rose. Let me put the quin rose right beside the permanent red, so it's really super easy to see. More of a kind of a pinkish undertone versus a redder. I would say to my eyes, this is much more red than this right here. If I was doing flowers, and I don't do flowers, I'd probably be using the quinacridone rose. So if you want to know the difference between the pigments, there's a great place. And if you don't know, just let me know you don't know, and I'll send you a link. You can actually go on and look about all the different aspects of any color, both the pigments it's made of, the light fastness, all the information about it. Every color's there. And if you don't know where that's at, I can point that out to you.
John, Ian has another question.
Yes.
John, when you talk about, when you have the term permanent in front of any of your paint, is that to do with its color drying shift?
One more time, please, Ian.
With the term permanent, do you mean its color drying shift?
No, that's a really good question. The reason that we call it permanent, I think Gabriel asked me this some time ago as well. It was when we first came out with watercolors, almost getting close to 3 decades now. Winsor Newton was the big player in the market. Because we didn't want a confusion, they had used very similar names to permanent, so we used it as well. So there could be similarity between, in the artist's mind, oh, this is kind of the color I'm looking at, especially when you're kind of very new. And then we got into our own very quickly thereafter and came out with, the names of the pigment versus saying permanent. We would say what it is. For example, it's quinethalone, it's a cad, it's a paraline, it's a pyrrole. We would just talk about the pigment, which is itself the color. So it was a naming convention that we no longer use. Yeah, great question. Gabriel, this is, I believe you asked about the new gamboge. So this is the new gamboge. And then the one that was next to it is the environmental friendly iron oxide.
That's lovely as well.
Yes.
I have that mixture that I was talking about ready to show.
Oh, that'd be fantastic.
So we have the cobalt teal. And just for giggles or a good time, I also did one here with burnt hematite, which is burnt hematite scarlet here at the top. Look at that granulation with the two mixed together. So
Let's
both here are
Can you-
the teal.
there you go. Fantastic. Can you show us that one more time? Gabriel, can you show us that one more time? Because now you're blown up in the middle of the screen so everybody can see. Can you show that one more time? Explain it.
Yes, here's the cobalt teal on this side. And right here, we have the hematite burnt scarlet. And then down here, we have the permarite. And so I've been using these for like in my rocks by the ocean. And I've been using them in the shadows of my people. And it's been really fun, especially if it's like on the beach and maybe a sandy area. And yeah, try out this mixture. I think you'll really enjoy it.
Very cool. Thank you. Hey, Giovanni, can you show everybody that what you've been doing?
We'll put him on spotlight.
This is new Cambodia and bio-friendly mix and hematite and cobalt blue and bar tiger eyes.
Yeah, I like what you and Gabriel did there. It's really neat. Very cool. And can you show your drawdowns that you've been doing too?
Yeah. Okay. Oh.
So that way everybody can see all the colors all at once. So there's the colors that we looked at today.
Yeah.
Very nice. Very nice. Very, very cool.
Thank you.
Yeah. And it says such beautiful granulation.
Yeah.
Buffy says cobalt teal is so beautiful. What was the color mixed with it on the bottom? And I think that that's reference to you, Gabriel.
Yes, I'm showing it right now on the camera.
So that's purprite
Yes.
along with cobalt teal blue. And the one above it is that the environmental friendly oxide above it?
No, that's my favorite color, hematite burnt scarlet.
Oh, very cool. Very cool.
Sean, there's a question for you from Belle. Does permanent also mean staining?
So no, it does not necessarily mean that. It was just a naming convention way back when we started. So if we look at, for example, the permanent brown, which I did not show you, it would be medium staining. And if we looked at the permanent red would be high staining. So it was just a naming convention back there that didn't really have anything to do with the staining or anything of that nature. So if you wanted to look at each one of the characteristics, I would really highly recommend, and I can send this to you. It's actually part of the website, of which at some point I'm going to go over so everybody sees it, because I think what Anna said is really important. I always think for myself, I think the more tools you have as an artist and the more that you can have access to the tools, it's just better. It's a more understanding, it's a better dialogue. So your questions are really awesome questions. So what I'm going to do, I think, I'm going to post this out to you so you see it. I can do that right now. Let me do that before you get off. I'm going to send you the link for that. So with that, I want to thank you all for joining today. Put this up. Thank you for joining today. And thank you for sharing your artwork. Thank you, Anna. Thank you, Angela, Gabriel, all of you that have shared your artwork. I really appreciate it. Give everybody a different perspective. And I think that's super, super important. Agus tomorrow is going to have Dee, his wife, be translator. So it may take a couple of extra seconds because I'm going to be saying one thing and then Dee is going to convert it into Indonesian and then back and forth. Agus, as many of you said, he's a phenomenal artist. He does huge paintings. So I think it'll be a fabulous time for you to meet him and see what he can do. Some of you are really interested in the sizes of brushes that Besnik uses. Besnik, there's many of, probably all of the brand ambassadors I did in the artist studio, and they gave really awesome, Stella, for example, gave very, very good ideas and tips and techniques. You might want to go back and just listen to those. It's always a great way to get more ideas. Ian, thank you for your questions. Thank you all, and look forward to seeing you tomorrow. I really, really, really hope you can join. Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you so much.
See you all tomorrow. Bye-bye.
See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Take care.